Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I have my desktop is hidden over here, but I want to keep my eye on the Q&A so I can answer your questions and see what they are. So today's workshop, we are going to make a trick-or-treat bag using heat transfer vinyl. I've gone ahead and cut out our first part of our design. And then I thought I would show you all how to customize an image using your software. Now, you may have a Silhouette, a Cricut, or a Juliet. They all pretty much work the same way in that they'll cut your heat transfer vinyl and you use each different machine's software to design your project. So the software user interface is a little bit different between the three different companies, but the idea is the same. So I'm hoping that two things will accomplish. One is teaching you how to add text and a name to an image. And then the second process will be how to layer iron-on material. So I'm using the Make Market tote, and I have to tell you guys, you probably may, if you haven't opened up one of the totes, and it's this little Make Market polyester tote. You could choose a bunch of different colors. There's purple and black and yellow. My purple one disappeared, so I grabbed a white one, which is still super cute. But with these tote bags, they have about a 3-inch gusset on the bottom. So when you use these bags, either for market bags or to hold library books or trick-or-treat candies, they will actually sit upright. So I love that because your design is going to sit up right. So what we're going to do first is iron on our 2 layers of iron-on vinyl, and I have the background layer and which is black, and then we'll do the overlay with the orange. Then on the back side, we'll do the little customization. So either way that you're carrying your tote, you'll either get the trick-or-treat or the back side with an image on it. So the first thing we'll do, of course, is heat up your iron-on press. So I'm going to be using the Cricut Easy Press, and I'm going to tuck my Joy Extra over here. Now, you can use a home iron to heat your design onto your material. You do not have to use an Easy Press. All of the vinyls will work with your home iron. The trick is to make sure you have it on the very highest of settings because we want to make sure that there's no moisture. So we'll use your iron-on material has to be set with no moisture. So you want to make sure like there's no steam in your iron or anything like that. And you do want to have it set on the highest setting. If you're using a heat press or an easy press, you'll want to follow the manufacturer's instructions on the heat setting. And sometimes you can find those on the packaging. So right here on the Make Market vinyl, it says place design on desired surface with the carrier sheet side up. You put parchment paper and press at 270 degrees to 290 degrees for 15 to 30 seconds. Now, I have found that since I can control my measures, I like to do my heat a little bit higher at a 315 temperature for the 30 seconds. Now, you can use parchment paper, you could use Teflon sheet to cover up your design, but mostly you have on the single layer, on our first layer here, which is the black layer, and then snap, crackle, pop that apart. On our black layer, we have the carrier sheet on that layer. Now, I do usually like to put a piece of parchment paper or your Teflon sheet to separate your iron from your design. And mostly that's just to get myself in the habit of putting that barrier sheet in the middle between the iron-on material and your iron. So that if for some crazy, mind hiccup, you put your design down with the iron-on material facing up, and you forget to flip it over, that doesn't get onto your iron. It'll just go on the Teflon sheet. So what we're going to do first is get out, we'll do a preheat for about 5 seconds. And the purpose of the preheat is really to get out any moisture in your material. Again, when you're doing iron-on, moisture is not your friend. So we want to remove any moisture in your material. So for the first press, I'm just going to get these lines pressed out of my tote here. So I'll just grab my easy press and I'll put that down. This is the 10-inch by 12-inch easy press. If you were using a smaller press or if you were using your home iron, what I would recommend that you do is to, I'm going to press my sides so I know where my sides are. If you're using your home iron, what I usually recommend you do is press what you're working on. So this is a good, when we do this pre-press, this is a good opportunity to kind of practice that pressing. So when I say press, we're just going to be putting the heat on the material and pressing. So I don't move my easy press around, or if you're using a home iron, you don't want to move it around. And the reason for that is if you move your iron or your press on your material, you could run the risk of moving your vinyl. And then when your vinyl moves, you will have, you might get like a shadowing effect, and you might have some residue of the vinyl where it shifted. So when you press, you put your heat source down on your garment and you leave it there, like you press it on there, even if you're doing small pieces as we go along. Now that was, and I'm using, I have the Easy Press pad underneath my Easy Press iron here, and the pad, what the pad will do is the pad helps to retain the heat, so your heat source goes through, but it also will it protects your surface that you're ironing on. If you don't have a pad, you want to use like beach towels, something thick enough, and I do recommend putting it on a counter or a table versus your ironing board if you're using an iron or an easy press. The reason being, your iron has the holes in it so that the heat will go through your garment through the iron and not retain the heat on your ironing board. But with what we're doing, you actually want the heat to be retained on your pad into your iron and kind of sandwich it in between. So I like to use either paper, like big thick beach towel, or an easy press pad or some other sort of ironing pad. So this is the box of the easy the heat transfer vinyl that I'm using. I've got this in black and orange that I've already pre-cut to put onto my garment. Now, if you don't have a craft cutter, you can certainly cut out a pattern and like cut out your iron material by hand and then heat it up, or you can use one of your craft cutter to cut out your design. Okay, so I've done the press on the front of it, and I put a press on my corner pieces here, so I know where the center of my bag is going to be. So what I'm going to do is find the center of my bag. So I'll put my handles together and then put my side seams together and my little gusset seam there together. And then I'm just going to grab the bottom of it and do the same thing. Now, the reason I'm finding the center of my bag this way is so that I can put my garment, not my garment, I can put my design down on my bag and know where the center of my bag is. So I would do this the same way if I were making this on a t-shirt. I would find the middle of my t-shirt by lining up my collar points and my shoulder sleeves and find the middle that way. That the design colored vinyl was on for heat transfer. Not sure I understand that question. So Laurel, I hope that answered. If you have, please guys keep those questions coming because this is a live workshop. So you have me here to ask those questions. Okay, so I've done my press right there. Now I'm just gonna go to switch over to my overhead. Oops, that's not it all the way. I'm gonna switch over to my overhead so that you all can see where that line is. It's kind of hard to see, but hopefully I don't have too many shadows there. Let me pull my camera in. I'm gonna swap that over. All right, let's see. We'll go like that. Let's just get this going in the right direction. You guys get to see all my little pieces on the ground. Okay, so here we go. I've got the handles out and I have a center seam right here. Now I could put my mat in between my bag, but I'm not really going to worry too much about that. I'm just going to move those handles out of the way and make sure that my garment, my bag, tote here is nice and flat on the easy press. There's my center seam. So I'm going to take my first piece of my garment. Sorry guys, we got a little
So I think that what Laurel and the anonymous attendee were talking about, so I think they're asking what the material is that the trick or treat like picture is currently on, that transparent material.
The tote bag?
No, like what it's printed on right now.
Oh, okay. So this is heat transfer vinyl. And we'll cut some of this out. You guys will get to see it cut. But I thought we would do the pressing first. So this is heat transfer vinyl. Heat transfer vinyl comes out of the package in a sheet like this. This clear side is called the carrier sheet. And that's the side here that has no color to it, but it holds all your iron-on pieces together. So when you put this in your cutting machine, you'll cut out the design. You basically cut out the back of the design, and then you use a tool called a weeding tool, which is this guy, and you're going to weed out the design using the weeding tool. So that's what we're going to do once we do the second. I mean, we're going to do that on the second cut. So we're kind of starting in the middle with the design already cut and weeded out. I thought that might be an easier approach so that you guys could kind of see what we're going for here at the finish. And then we'll kind of step back and do the other side from scratch. So I've marked my little center here for my tote, and I'm going to mark it, line that up on each side. And like I said, I'm going to put this, it looks a little crooked to me. So let me line this up straight. It's a little bit bigger piece. So we're just going to kind of line it up here. If you want to, you can always use a ruler or a tape measure to line that up. So let me grab a tape measure real quick and I'll show you another method. So it was looking a little bit off to me using my fold method. So I'm just going to take my tape measure and go from the side seam and make sure my side seam is the same distance on each side. That makes sense. So I've got a little side seam here. We got a little side seam. So let's tuck that in. This bag is a little bit tricky because of the gusset in the bottom. So let's get our side seam out. Okay. And then we'll just pop this back on that middle, about where we think the middle is going to be. And then we'll just do another check. So 3.5 inches on that side and a little bit more than 3.5 on this side. So I could come this way just a hair like that. Okay. So a little bit more than 3.5. So this one will be a little bit more than 3.5 as well. So that you can measure both sides. And if you're doing a garment, you would kind of do the same thing on your sides. You'd measure your side measurement there and then your middle measurement here. So if I wanted to make sure I had it lined up properly here, I could just kind of measure down from the top and make sure from the top that my lines here are on the same spot. So we'll just mark there. Come here, mark there, and slide over here and mark here. So it's a little bit high over here, isn't it? So we'll just go lower this side down just a smidge, feel our center line up. Yep. All right, so I'm lined up in the center. I've measured here. I've got this distance is about the same on each side, and it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to be exactly perfect. I know you guys like to be. I like to be. So let's see, this is 26. That's 26. I'm going to come down just a hair on this. Okay, so now I've got it lined up. This is our first layer. I'm going to grab my easy press, bring it over, and turn it on and let it heat up for about 30 seconds. Now I'm just going to do a little firm pressure here. And the carrier sheet on your heat transfer vinyl, that's that shiny side, that's kind of what holds all the pieces together. And that is really important because you want to hold the position of each individual piece. Like if you had to take each of those checkers and place these down, like that would be a lot of work. So using the carrier sheet, it kind of holds it all together. It does make it harder if you were to use the iron-on material and cut it out as one shape. But, you know, maybe if you want to cut out a bat or two and put them on your trick-or-treat bag, then that would be easier, I would say, to cut by hand. So what I'm doing now is just letting a little cool air come through. You want to remove the carrier sheet when it's cool to the touch. So you're going to let your garment or your bag, your tote, kind of cool down a bit before we remove the carrier sheet. When we remove the carrier sheet, the vinyl will stay down. So not quite cool enough yet. Let that cool off a smidge. If for some reason, like I just pulled that little corner over and it didn't quite come down, you can just come right back, put your heat press back on it, and then we'll go from there. So last good question, can adhesive vinyl be layered onto HTV? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the difference between the two types of vinyl. Iron-on vinyl has a glue that is activated when heat is applied to it, and that glue will is what helps your design stick to your garment. So you can layer different types of iron-on material on top of other iron-on material, and then heat it on top of that, and it will become permanent. If you used an adhesive vinyl, you have permanent adhesive vinyl, and let's see, let me grab a make marker. This is the permanent vinyl here. This type of material doesn't have a carrier sheet per se, like to hold the design together like this. It does have a carrier sheet, but you weed it out. You weed it off the same way you do the iron-on material. But the difference is your regular vinyl, like this vinyl, has the adhesive on the back of the design. So this would be my orange layer. There's no stickiness on the back of this piece. I can't feel it on the back of the orange, but when I place it on top of the black and I heat it up, it will heat and stay onto the black design. If I just used permanent vinyl and put it on top of the design, it would stay. Like I could take this tote out trick-or-treating and it would probably stay there like for a Halloween costume or like a one-night event. You'd be fine. But if you wanted to take your tote and wash it, your permanent vinyl is not intended to go through the washing machine and be washed. If that helps answer that question. Okay. Now here we go. So we're just going to start bringing this off, and it's still a little bit warm to the touch. So I should probably be more patient and really let it cool off. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be more patient and let it cool off. Are there any other questions about iron-on before I keep tempting fate here? You really do want it to be like, it's still warm to the touch. So I want it to be cool to the touch. I want it to really cool down. In fact, sometimes people will take a a cold glass, like one lady always jokes that she took what did she like a cream cheese container and put it over her design to cool it off because she just couldn't wait for it to cool down. So I'm just gonna take my cold drink here and we'll just put this over and it's cooling it off. So you just really want to make sure that your design has enough time to cool so that the glue will adhere to your garment. And I keep calling it a garment, so I'm sorry, but you want to make sure it has enough time to cool, because if you don't, you can like pull up your carrier sheet and it will wrinkle your iron-on material underneath. So let's just kind of now see it coming up so much nicer. Now that it's cooled down a bit, it's just peeling off so nicely. I can just walk my hand right along. Still a little warm to the touch, but it's way better than it was a couple seconds ago. So I'm just pulling this off, and all of this is going to stay onto my garment because it's been heated up and it stays on the garment. Now I can feel it on top of the garment. It sits on top of the cloth here, so you can still feel it. There's another product called infusible ink, and that infuses right into the garment. So now for this layer, I just need to pop my orange on top of my black, and I'm going to line up my little pumpkin here. I've got my little bats and everything. So that's going to lay right on top of it. And you can just pick it back up until once you heat it up and put it down, you won't be able to pick it up, obviously, because you're going to heat it up to go on top of the vinyl. So I hope that answers your question. You can use different types of iron-on vinyl on top of each other for clothing and cloth and fabric, even on wood. But if you're using, if you're using regular vinyl, I would not, and plus you wouldn't heat up your regular vinyl. Now, if I were using my purple tote, I would have had a little white layer for my ghost, and I would have made him a white layer. So that layer probably would have had to go in first before my black or my orange. So I'm just going to do for 20 seconds or 30 seconds here, and then we'll be patient and we're going to let it dry. And then the exciting part is going into our design space and creating the next part of the back of the bag, which is fun. We'll add a name to it. So I'd love to know if you guys want to drop in the Q&A which machine you use, or if maybe you don't own a machine yet, you don't have a Cricut or a Silhouette or a Juliet, maybe you're just interested to see what they do. But I'd love it if you had a machine and you would just drop in the Q&A what you have. That's super helpful. Okay, I'm just going to set this guy aside and we're going to let him cool off while I work on the next piece of it. Okay, so one of you has a Cricut Explore Air 2. So that has the dial on it. Ooh, the Cricut Maker 3, love it. The Explore Air 2 will have your dial on it. So when you select your materials, you use the dial on your materials to select it. Okay, so let me, let's see, I'm going to push my camera over here a little bit. I don't know if you want to go back, but I'm going to share my screen and we'll go into design space, and you guys will be able to, I can show you where I have the project in case you want to make the project along with me. You can always go to my profile and see the projects I have shared here. Let's see. Are we being slow today? Let me go back to the home screen. Okay, so here's our home screen. And if you wanted to find me, you could just type in my name, Kesley Anderson, and that would take you to my profile where my projects are. But since this is my account, I'm just going to click on my stuff, and I'm going to go to our little trick or treat tote. Now, when I open this, you can see the images I used to create this project. And if you have design space, then Cricut Access, then those projects would be free, like they're part of your Cricut Access membership. If you don't have Cricut access, then you would just if you wanted to purchase the images, you could use the individual images as you go along. Or if you had an image from somewhere else, you could always upload it into Design Space and work from there. So I took a few different images and combined them together to make my little ghost friend. But the back side of my tote bag, I found these flying bats. It was a whole set. And I just thought, oh, these are so super cute and super cool. So the first thing I need to do is turn my tote over, because I'm going to put the flying bats on the back side of my tote. And I'll measure how big I want them to be, keeping in mind that maybe the widest, depending on, you guys all have machines that cut 11.5 inches. So you could go at 11.5 inches. I thought I would show the Joy Extra and cut a little bit. It'll be a little bit smaller. So my biggest size will be 8.5 inches by 12, which I think is still going to be a great size for the tote, and it'll match the size of the front of the tote. So let me share my screen again, and we'll size our bats out. So the tallest that I want my bats to be will be 8.5 inches. Right now, all of these bats are grouped together. So I'm going to, while they're all grouped together, go up to the edit bar and change it to 8.5 inches tall. So we'll see how big those bats come at 8.5 inches, which they're actually pretty good size. So from here, I can add, I have 6 inches widthwise to work with to add a name. So if I wanted to add my name, you just have to add a layer. So I'll add a text layer and put in my name, because who doesn't take themselves trick-or-treating? If you're not trick-or-treating, we're taking ourselves too seriously. So I'm just I can pick a font. If you wanted to, you could filter, like if you don't have Cricut access, or whichever program you have, they will have fonts and images. And if you don't have the membership, you can filter by which fonts are free. If you have the membership, you'll have an access to a huge library of fonts. So maybe I want to do something a little bit curly, cursive, fun in there. And you can also, one thing to keep in mind with, I know with Silhouette and Cricut, you can use fonts that are in your computer. So like if you have a font in your Word document, oh, I don't have that font in here. If you had a font in like that you use in your Word document or something like that, then you could use that font that you like. I'm really liking that culinary though. That's a really cute font. Maybe Gelato Fresco if I want to go a little cursive. Oh, that's cute. Okay, so I said the biggest I would want to make this widthwise would be 6 inches. So I go back up to my edit bar, and I'm just going to change that to be 6 inches. And I'm just going to put that I think I'm going to put it right about there. So we'll weld the name together on Design Space. You need to weld your layers together. If it's a name like that, if you're doing fonts, you want to weld it together. Then now that we have the name on there, if I wanted to make my name, say, a little bit bigger, say I wanted to pop it in like that and go a little bit bigger, I could come in and take some of the bats and move them around. So since right now all my bats are grouped together, I'm going to do an ungroup, and I'll ungroup those bats. And guys, remember, this is all being recorded. So if you miss something or it doesn't, make sense to you right now, you can come back in and watch the recording and try these different pieces as I'm moving things around, and pause and stop the recording. So let's just move these bats a little bit like that, maybe. I kind of like this guy over here though. So maybe I want to put this guy here. Ooh, what do you think of that? I like that. Okay, so we'll have our bats like that. Now I could do my name in a separate name if I wanted to, or a different type of material. Or I could just leave it, attach it all together, and then cut it out of one material, which is actually what I'm going to do. So to attach all these pieces together, and what attach does is it holds the position of the different images and different layers relative to each other when you send it over to your machine. So I'm going to hold these all together, and I'll use this attach icon in the bottom. And now these are positioned all together. Now I'm still a little bit big because the tallest I can make my image is 8.5 inches. So I'm actually going to come and change my height and make it 8.25 inches and 11.5 inches wide. It would be really cute. Like if I wanted to change the name to orange or to kind of match the front of my tote, I could do that. You could add, if you wanted to add in a little bit of orange, come back over to this group and bring in your orange pieces, these little glitzy oranges, the little, I don't know what you call those, the little diamondy oranges. We could add those into this. And if you wanted to do that, but you have that little skeleton and fancy legs in there, we can contour those out. So let me show you real quick how to do that. I'll copy this layer. Let's duplicate this layer, and we'll hide that one because that's the original. But if I wanted to move out of the pumpkin out of the way, I would just take that layer and contour this layer. Then I could come in here and select the pumpkin face to remove those layers out of the stars, out of the orange stars. And then we just have to kind of like, sometimes you have to like go to the side panel there and find them. But this is kind of just giving you an idea of how you can reuse pieces in your design to achieve the look that you're going for. So would want to get out that little teeny tiny fleck of pumpkin there. I don't know where that is. Oh, there it is. Okay. So now I've hidden all those pieces, and now I could just bring in the stars if I wanted to, the star of the show, and bring those in. Kind of move that like that. So we could just kind of move that around and position it. You could also hand cut those pieces kind of apart as you go. Okay, so once I've got it the way I want it, I'm going to save my project. And then we're going to cut it from our Cricut Joy. Now, I have to tell you guys, I was having a little bit of trouble for some reason connecting with my Cricut Joy. So what I'm going to do is, actually, sorry, I wanted to give my front facing one. Okay, so what I wanted to, I'm going to switch over and use my phone to connect with the Cricut Joy. So to do that, I just need to make sure that my Joy is connected, my Joy Extra. Okay, so my Joy Extra is connected. So I wish I had a good, easy way to show this since it's using my overhead. I don't necessarily have a good way. So let me just see. You know what I'm thinking is maybe I can zoom in on my phone here. Okay, is that, can you see? I know it's a little fuzzy. If I go like that, you can't really see that, can you? Okay. Well, I'm not going to try and do that. Sorry. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and get it to send on my phone. So basically what I do is I go into my, my projects that I've saved, and I click on the trick or treat tote, and it comes up, and then I just can say, make it. And I've got my Cricut Joy Extra, and you could do this on any of your Cricut machines because they all connect through Bluetooth. Actually, all your Airs and your Air Extras, and of course, so now it's on my my cutting mat, and I need to choose which machine I'm cutting from. So I have it set on a Maker 3. I'm going to change that and do my Cricut Joy Extra. Go back to my projects, my Kesley. I'm going to say make it. It's thinking. So now it turned it, and so it'll go sideways on my mat. So I have my mat here. and I'm going to cut it out of just the iron-on material, and my light is flashing, telling me it's ready to go. Now, the difference with your Joy Extra and such is that the difference is the Joy Extra and the Joy use the same blades. Your Explorer and your Maker use different blades. All right, so here we go. You guys get to see all the special thought on the behind the scenes. All right, so let's see. Am I not connected anymore on the overhead? Oh, you changed it. Thank you. That was probably making everybody sick, wasn't it? I forgot the camera was on. Okay.
The overhead camera is not on.
Oh, the overhead camera's not on. Okay. Let me switch that on. Let's go back. Okay, there we are. And we go. There we go. Oh. All right. There we go. All right, so now I have my Joy here, and I have my mat. So any of the different devices that you use will require you to use a mat, unless like you're using it without like Smart Materials, or there's Silhouette allows you to use different materials without putting it on a mat. And the carrier sheet is the clear part. So you put the clear side of your vinyl onto the mat, and then we're going to load that in. And your machine will take it in. I probably have to go back and click something. I may lose my camera for just a second. And I may happened. Oh dear. All right, we are having technical difficulties here, guys. It's thinking. So while this is thinking its way through, I'm going to put this right here so I can see what's happening. And while that's spinning away and thinking, why don't we take this piece off here? And you can see now my orange is on my tote, right on top of the pumpkin and the little witchy person there, just like I wanted it to be. So how fun is that? All right, I have a second, Chanel, I have spare time here. If we, I really don't know why that's doing that. I can pull over a different machine and we can go ahead and I can get this cut. You can just give me a second. If there are any questions, if anybody had any questions, now is a great time to ask. Well, I just switch this around. Okay. Here we go. This is, I guess the benefit of having two machines here is I can switch it around and select it a different machine and get it cutting for us. So that's a good thing. And it all works the same way. So between the different machines, I'll get the same results. And I actually, since I have a Maker 3 here, I have a piece of black smart vinyl. So, sorry, everybody. This is not how I planned for this to go, but thank you all for your patience and sticking it out with me. Okay. So I can go back to my overhead if you'd like. And we can give everybody a chance to see this. in action. Okay, there we go. All right, so here is our Cricut. Now I have a Maker 3 now here, and I'm just going to go back into Design Space, and we'll send this one to the Maker 3. And I'm going to hit continue. So since I have a piece of smart material here, I can just use this without Chanel. What is going on with me? All right, let's go Maker 3 and make it. Okay, and I'm going to do it without a mat, so it'll know to look for it without a mat. And I have a machine. Oh, my machine's not turned on. Wow, gotta have that machine turned on, right? So if you're a beginner, the difference between smart iron-on material and say everyday iron-on material, or the Cricut or the Michael's Make Market material, is that the smart iron-on material does not require a mat. So I can just put it in with that shiny side down, and I don't have to put it on a mat. With your other vinyl, or if you're using a smaller piece of smart iron-on material, so like when I use this type of iron-on material, I put it on a mat, and that was that green piece I had, and it's still in my sewing machine. It's got adhesive on it, so it will hold your material in place, and then you can it'll hold it into your machine. That makes sense. So now it's ready to start cutting, and I'll just start cutting out those bats for me. The carrier sheet part of it, this is that extra piece that we took off from the orange. I don't need to save this. So this I would get rid of this piece on my table, kind of keeping it kind of clean. It's trying. All right, I'm gonna slide this down under here. So once it's finished, once it does the cutting, it'll come out and we'll just trim it down and then do the weeding. So this is the part you didn't see from the other pieces where it went ahead and did the cutting, and then it'll do the weeding. I just realized I didn't have the Q&A section open, so let me do this. Shiny side Laurel goes down. When you're doing an iron-on material, the shiny side will go down on the material. And I'm just gonna use my scissors and cut across. I can see where my bats are. So I'm gonna make sure I don't cut my bats. And I'm just gonna cut right across that material. You can just close that up. We'll push that back so we can do the weeding on this material. So to weed out your material, what you're doing is you're removing the part of the design that you don't want to keep. So we remove any of this black material that we're not going to press onto our bag. So I just grab a little corner of it with the weeding tool. It's got a poker on one side, and we're able to scoop down in there. And I just begin to move it back. Now, if you were worried, maybe this is your first time cutting something, you could always do a test cut on your material to make sure you have the right settings. If you're using material you're not familiar with, you could always do a test cut on your settings to make sure it's going to cut through properly. Or you can, that's what I like to do. If I'm cutting material I haven't cut before, or I'm maybe doing something different with it, or I will do a little test cut. And a test cut is just a small little circle in the corner to make sure that I'll get a good clean cut on the whole piece. So let's just go ahead and pull this all off. Nice big back coming off. Now the carrier sheet does have stick to it, and that's so that it will stick down to your material. So this part of it is sticky, which is good. You want that. But your iron-on material that we're removing is not sticky. And if you wanted to, you could have trimmed this portion off and then save that scrap to use at a later project. So I use my weeding tool to just get started. And then with these bigger pieces, I'm able to kind of just walk them off the carrier sheet here. So that just comes right off like that. And then I'll grab my weeding tool again and I'll come back in and I will begin to remove those pieces. I think, I'm not sure if there was one in that L, I mean in my S. So if you're not sure, like I'm not 100% sure if there's one in the S, iron material does tend to be pretty forgiving if you tear it, but you can always be safe than sorry and either put your, you can put your transfer sheet up to a window to see if there is a little spot. Like I'm not sure if there's something in the middle of that S that I need to weed out and the Y. So then I'll just go back in and look at design space at my project and I'll make sure the S doesn't have anything and the Y does not have anything. So I've weeded this out completely and I have my iron, it's heating up. So let's go ahead and grab my tote again. We'll bring this back here. So there's our little, there's the front of the tote and then the back of the tote. Now again, since I've already done the front side, I am going to move my pad inside the tote so that I don't, disrupt the front of the tote. I don't think it would do any damage, but I always kind of like to play it safe than sorry. So again, we can find the middle of our tote here and measure out our sides. We've done the quick press, but I'm going to do that again. We'll just do that like 5-second quick press on the beginning. So I've got my press here. We'll go ahead and just do like 5 seconds. Okay, that was more than 5 seconds. So that's got any moisture that happened to be in this side of the garment or the tote is now removed from the tote. And I've got my cute design. So I'll find the middle of my design and something like this, you may not like, it may not be exactly in the middle. My middle may be somewhere different. Oh, guess what I forgot to do, guys? I forgot to mirror my name. So in all that with the drama of the swapping out the machines, my name, I left, I did not mirror this project. So when I did the weeding, if I were to put my image down, my name would be backwards. So that is not desirable. So I'm just going to take my name and cut my name out. My bats are okay. My bats could go either way. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll take my name out. And then I will recut my name and mirror my name. And if we have time, we can do that together. If not, I will just have to do that on my own. But there, so if I put this down, it would go down backwards. The mirroring is so important and it's such an easy step to miss. So let me, before I heat this down onto my tote here, I want to make sure that my name will still fit with the angle of my bats. If it didn't fit with the angle I have my bats, I could come back in and remove a bat here or there. Like if I wanted to, this would be a good opportunity just to take this bat. I could cut him out and add him to the bottom of the tote if I wanted to. So don't feel like if you make a mistake, mistakes happen. It happens to everybody. We always like that mirroring, forgetting to mirror your iron-on project. It just happens. And Design Space, most of the softwares will even say like, don't forget to do this, don't forget to mirror. And I forgot to mirror. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'll cut this down a little smidge a bit more, remove any overlap. So we'll get, so you guys are getting a little lesson learned here. Always mirror, but it does happen. I just don't want to cut my tote by accident. And I could put this down and then come back and add this a little bit later, but that's cute. I like this. It's gonna work out fine. And then I can come back, cut my name and add my name right. With these in place, I'll grab my iron again here and we'll do 30 seconds. Thanks, Laurel. We'll do 30 seconds. She says, you're doing awesome. It's funny, you forget like that little mirroring thing. It just sometimes that happens, you forget it. So thank you. I appreciate your encouragement. And I'll actually go into Design Space because this has to cool anyway. So I'll go back into Design Space and I'll show you how we can now cut just the name and not the bats. So we'll come back. I'll share my screen again here. And we will, let's see, let me share my screen. We'll go back into Design Space and I'll show you, we'll do that contouring trick again because like my bats are all, I attach that all together. So now I just want to go back in and hide, let's see, where's my name? This is this one. So, well, oh, there it is. Is that, I didn't attach it all together. Okay, so I can just hide each of these bats individually or remove my name from the group, but I had them all attached together. So you can just hide the bats. Now, when I go to make it, the step I missed was right here. On the prepare screen, you want to mirror your project. So if it has anything you need to mirror, I pretty much usually mirror it. So I will go ahead, we'll cut that back out. So let's go ahead and hit continue. And I'll grab my mat this time. And we'll just go ahead and cut that out again. Let me put I'm going to put this one aside so I don't accidentally put that one down. So I'll just grab my Smart Materials. Now I could just do it the easy way.
Kesley, you're still sharing
here.
Hey, Kesley, you're still sharing your screen.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I will grab that. We'll grab that off. Let's see. I'm going to choose my Smart Iron-On right there. Okay, let me stop sharing. And it even tells you, make sure to mirror. Make sure to mirror your project. Okay, so we're just going to put this guy back on there. And we'll put that right on the mat. So your project will always land in this upper left corner. You can move it around, but all the different softwares will always put it up in that left corner. And then you can move it around from there if you need to. And what's important when you put your material, again, I did the shiny side down, but what's important when you are putting your material on your mat, or if you're not using a mat, like you have it lined up on the side, but if you are using a mat, what you want to do is make sure that you really make sure your material is adhered to your mat so that it doesn't slip off the mat. And that will cause your material to bunch up and it could damage your cut. So just remember to really put it smoothly on that. Now look, I'm just peeling off my little carrier sheet here for my bats. My daughter thought when we were discussing this design, she said I should put I love it's freaking bats. I love Halloween. I don't know if you guys have seen that little girl on Instagram, but she's adorable. And we say that. I freaking love Halloween. All right. And so if there are any questions, we're going to wrap up here. So if you have any questions about this project, about working with iron-on materials, layering your iron-on materials, or anything like that, this is a good opportunity to ask those questions. I'll cut this down just a little bit, and then I can save this for another use. We'll grab our weeding tool. Usually my tools slip under my machine at this point. They've gone haywire. So again, I'm just peeling this right off. Like so. Pull this right down. Okay. All right, and then we're going to go back in and we'll weed out our little inside pieces. So I'm going to take out that E, inside the L. My iron is still hot for me. That's good. The L. And like I said, your iron-on material is very forgiving. So like, I wasn't quite sure where the inside of that E was. So I had to pull out the L. So I pulled up a little bit, but when you iron it down, you won't even notice that it kind of came up, even if you tear it. It's just so forgiving. Okay, so now I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to, I always trim, if I have some of my clear carrier sheet that stays there, I trim that out so that it doesn't interfere with, I don't want to ever leave a crease. Sometimes I think the carrier sheets can leave creases. So if you've already done one layer, so I like to make sure that my new layer is completely out of that space. Now, this is where you want to grab that parchment paper or your Teflon sheet. Mine's in my closet here, so I was expecting to need it. Grab that. So I use the Teflon sheet because you can use it over and over again. But it's basically like a piece of Teflon that you can put down, and it protects my iron from the material. So I can just put this down here. So yes, those the images I used, if you find the oh, you know what, Laurel? This project, I usually share the project after the workshop. So you may not be able to see it. And I can show you while this is heating up, we're going to take a second to cool. When you're done with your project, you can save. You always want to save your project. So you hit save. So you save your project. And then once your project is saved, if you take a picture of your project, so like this will be what my project looks like. But once you take a picture of your project and add it to the project details, you can share your project to the Cricut community. So once I add a photo, then I can share this out. But I can, we'll put that I'll put that into the chat for everyone. If you want to copy that link, you can do that. So I usually share out most of my projects. But now that a little bit of a change in design space, and you have to have an image for your project to be shared out. All right, so Chanel, do we have 2 seconds for this to cool off here? And I'll share it. Grab my ice again. We'll put that on there. That seemed to work. Well, guys, I'm so excited, and I'd love to see what you make. So if you make a project, your trick or treat tote, and you share it up to Instagram, make sure you tag Michaels, Learn with Michaels, and tag me, Kesley.365. I would love to see what you make. And if you use my project in Design Space, I'll get a little notification that you use my project as your inspiration. And so I'll get to see what you made there. All right, so this is cooling off nicely. So let's go ahead and peel that right off. Yep, look at that. It comes off so nice. I think this would look good too in black glitter. Oh, and I meant to tell you, there is also this heat transfer reflective material. If you have little kids that are running around the neighborhood, so fun. And it's like when light hits it, it reflects off the light. So you can use this just like the black, and it's got like reflective. See how it kind of has that like rainbow there? So it will reflect at night. Very cool. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I think that's all we have for the night. Thank you so much. And I do apologize for my little technical difficulties. I don't know why my Joy Extra was not listening to me, but she's tired, I guess. So thank you all for joining me. Can't wait to see what you create with your totes. Let's see how this one turned out. We'll do a quick glance. And don't forget that this class has been recorded, and you'll get a link to the recording, like Chanel said, on Monday. Be sure to share it out with your friends. Like, hey, I took this fun class and look what we made and how fun is this? So thanks everyone for joining me. I hope you have a great evening. Have a fun weekend and a safe Halloween. So thanks guys. I appreciate it.